I'm Jason Winslade.
And I'm Lilith Dorsey, and welcome to the Pop Occulture show. That's hard to say. It doesn't get any easier. This is the fifth episode of our second season. We're rolling it on along, and five, yeah, right? We're here to talk to you about the crossroads between pop culture and the occult. We're both scholars, practitioners, I want to say like old people that have been around for a long time doing this and talking about this and writing about this and all those wonderful things. But I'm excited. We even have somewhat of a kind of theme show. So I'll let you explain what it is, Jason.
Well, usually we do deep dives into occult properties and things like that, but we decided as part of first spooky season and then shopping season for the holidays that we would look at some occult markets. I was inspired by this going at the beginning of spooky season, going into places like Marshall's and Michael's in Chicago that have really great occult sections now, not just Halloween, but occulty stuff. I'm pretty sure that this shirt was purchased for me at Marshall's. So this mainstreamization of occult images, in these mainstream stores, and even have provoked some Christian backlash. But I thought about this and was like, well, I know plenty of independent occult artists in the city and elsewhere, and larger markets where these occult artists bring their wares to various audiences. And so we talked to a couple people this week about their art and about how they present these things in the markets. So that's our theme for this week. We decided that we would check out things in Chicago and things in New Orleans, very similar places in some ways, but also very different in a lot of ways. So tell us about who you talked to.
Well, I primarily talked to two people, went to two places. The first person I talked to was my friend Kook Teflon, who is a now transplant from, I believe originally it was Northwest Coast, but they've been here a little bit longer than I have, since 2019. And they're a local artist, performer, psychic, medium, all of those things. And they're really, we're such a open, crazy community. And I mean that in every delightful way, that there's a lot of ways for artists to really shine and get their work out there. And I did an in-depth interview with them. And then I also went to my goddaughter Shannon Wild's new store, Sassy Noir, which is a, sort of, how do I say it? The other store is Sassy Magic, and it's filled with pink and glitter, and this one's all dark and filled with gargoyles, and is really focused on more on occult art and things like that. So we got to see some of the work that's in there, some of the work that I have in there, and things like that. So I think it gives a really good balance, and it was really interesting talking to them about some of the challenges that we face trying to present these things as, independent retailers, as independent artists, as practitioners that are also in some way commodifying these things that we get, but for the betterment of everybody, hopefully.
Yeah, there are quite a few occult artists like this in Chicago, and there's some pretty great stores here too. I decided to talk to a gentleman by the name of Nick Vandervelde, who is the facilitator and producer of an event called the Bazaar of the Occult, which usually happens around spooky season in October, and they do other pop-up events throughout the year. But he brings together a pretty wide range of artists and vendors, and some of these people I know because I've worked with them when I produce shows and I bring vendors in, and there's quite an interesting aesthetic that goes on at this event.
Well, one of the things I love about Sassy Noir, not only the fact that it's very dark and not as pink as the other store, is that it really does showcase some of these independent artists. And it's been a long time since I made any art relating to my practices and things like that. But I was inspired or procrastinating, depending on how you want to say it. And I made a series of skeleton fairies, or scaries, as some people call them, for Shannon's store. Basically, skeletons with fairy wings and intentions and things like that. And for me, it really allows me to sort of unlock some of these thoughts, some of these energies that are floating around, and channel it into a beautiful and productive thing that I can share with other people.
So we talked to these people, and we're going to show you some of our conversation and some of their wares and some great footage from their events as well.
Well, my public name is Kook Teflon. As a medium, I go by Cheyenne to say. I began doing readings in 1988. My mom was a reader also, but it was more like past life and fun little gatherings with like all her friends and elder women. But I've been professionally reading for about 20 years now. And I am a devotee of Hecate, and also I'm an artist, and I've been a professional artist, you can say, for about 20 years now too. And so my art, my main staple of my art is doll making, sculptures, puppets. I've sold them all over the world. I've created a lot of collections that are based off of being a medium and channeling different spirits. And I feel the spirits, I'm able to tell their story and remember them through the puppet. So usually when I'm making a special collection, that's what that's around. But I've also made anyone from David Bowie to Klaus Nomi. I've done a lot of custom dolls for folks. I've done a lot of spirit dolls, like from Marie Laveau to, just so many. And I've traveled all over the country with them. They've been to Japan. They're all over the place in a lot of publications. And I'm really focused on the kitchen witches right now, which are a Germanic tradition of you put this witch in your kitchen and nothing burns and boils over, and she gives blessings to the house. And I am a professional evidential medium. I have an office downtown, so that's what I do full time. That's like my day gig. I talk to the dead on the 10th floor. Mm-hmm. So that's beautiful. Like my work has been able to form from my art and my spiritual practice. If you're creating art or you're creating pieces, like to be intentional in your thought, and like what are you eating while you're doing that? Well, it's another ritual, even though you're creating, what are you nourishing? What are you calling in? Like if I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to make my products that I use, like my ceremonial, like I make Florida waters and oils and stuff. But I also am the same way with my art. Like I want to make sure those intentions are put in there, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you're channeling and making the art, I don't know what I'm like, not necessarily like how it's going to end. And then it always makes sense and falls into place where like I can even look up afterwards and be like, this is a folk tale from like 1782 that I just Googled and came up, but it was after the fact. Wow. So sometimes I'll challenge myself on that to see how that comes through. And then sometimes it is very intentional. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make "Oh Susanna" from that song. Who is Susanna? Like, let's form her into a sculpture. I think sometimes also as an artist, if you're very passionate about history and trivia and all of that, like it's also like almost like a college in a sense if you're researching everything. And so that's an important part of it too, of like knowing why you're making this, also what is their history, because the history that's in the books and publicly are a lot of times opposite. And that's when things will come through either in dreams or so happens like I keep running into the same song, situation, story, and that's to me them telling me no, this is how it went. It didn't go like this, and I trust it. I just trust it. That's beautiful. Yeah, so that's a little bit more of that too. That. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. My end goal for anything that I do in the nature of art and for my esoteric practices, my devotional work, is to inspire others to do their own thing and like to have some type of devotional. I don't care if you have an altar to David Bowie, have something that you focus on. You know what I mean? Like if that's where you need to start, Even when I was a kid, I was always a hag. Like everyone else was princesses and stuff. I was always, so this is part of like the Perchta persona. I make different masks every year. So my traditions around like Yule is I normally do a midnight supper ceremony, but that night begins, I make handmade goods and art pieces and oils and all that for 13 friends that I've been close with through the years. Sometimes it's like this, I have a few that are the same every year, and then there's some that are new in my life or in my world, or that I've started creating art with or doing mentoring with and all of that. And so we create all that, and me and my partner, and he's the Mary Lywyd, which is the Welsh tradition of the skull horse head. His is psychedelic, but I'll show you in a minute. And we deliver them all Epiphany morning. So she likes to deliver on Epiphany. And if your house is clean and you've been good, basically, she will give you a gift. But if you're a mess and a wreck and you're not showing up for yourself, she'll gut you and stuff you with straw and rocks. And I'm also part of Kook Krampus. Like, I joined Kook Krampus because I was already doing my perchta. So, anyways, so that's something that I do around Yule that I'm very passionate about and I love. I've been doing it for like the last 4 years, but it's like something new, but something that I've been really like charged with. Like, I love it. I love the Winter Witch. You know, there's a witch for everything, right? There's Easter witches.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know,
do you march in the Krampus parade?
I do, yeah. I'm in the crew. It's like the one crew that I pay fees and dues for. The rest of them are all like, you know, chaos parades that I'm part of, like AOS I'm part of, and Ostar. Those are my other 2 crews.
The Bazaar of the Occult essentially is a vendor market that you've seen traditionally with different artists and things around the country, I'm sure. What sets the Bazaar of the Occult apart and has made it special, and I think that led to its success, was its incorporation of theatrics, tarot, astrology, energy readers. So sort of like a spiritual fair or festival in that main like art market kind of classic setup. So we had traditionally used sideshow performers and bands and performances and drag performers and a theatrical performance upstairs in a theater. So it was really gaining a lot of this cool performance aspect to it that I think set it apart from some of the other ones. Not to mention the amazing community of like local Chicago artists and makers and witches and all the people that actually make it what it is. So yeah, at the end of the day, it is a collaborative space for all of these local artists to connect and network and help build each other's businesses together. It was kind of this like melding of all these like disparate witchy communities, and you had the goth kids and the sort of the people that are into the anime aspect of that, and the people that are into the green witch and the herbalism aspect of it, and the real kind of like chaos witch kind of like energy people coming through. It was really nice to see all of those different people come together in that space. And I think that's something that it comes from not me personally. I think it was well received and well attended because it was tapping into this thing that I feel like people were maybe looking for and searching for, and we kind of like made that happen. So yeah, all credits to, you know, all the artists and all the people that helped make that happen. We were just kind of showcasing everyone's talents there. I had this idea and the word came into my head. It was Bazaar of the Occult. And just that mental image of what that could become, I started to get really passionate, started writing things down, and started trying to make a plan to turn what I had already known from doing these pop-up markets into something that was really, that had an identity, that was really specific to my interests, and that's kind of how it all came about. So we started with the one. My partner's a designer, so he has done all of the flyers and all of the media promotional materials that lended it a really nice feel. And then, yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there, and people were really receptive to it. And so we just continued amping it up. Next year, we're going to do something bigger and better. It's kind of, it's completely magical in the way that it came about. As I don't really have another way to explain it other than tapping into this and really just following your instinct and intuition. And then it also served as a, you know, sort of like a manifestation to see something, to see an idea written down, and to just follow that idea and follow everything like just super passionately. It just led to everything flowering. Yeah, some of these artists have been regularly attending all of these events, and one of them, she is a embroiderer, Marcina Dufresne. She came all the way from Rhode Island to just attend the Bazaar of the Occult market, which I mean, I love that. Like, it means that we're doing something right and we're providing a space that people like to be a part of. And so I always find that a good sign that there are these faces and these people that I continue to foster these relationships that come back year after year, or they have some opportunity, they reach out, or I have some opportunity that's not a part of the Bazaar of the Occult, but I thought you might be a good fit for it. And I guess maybe it's a little bit of my Libra-ness, is I just like to make and foster those connections between people and see what they could do for each other or what I could do for you. So it's the community of people that have come back year after year and become a part of this has been so like overwhelming. I've watched some of these artists, Winslow Domain, who does defensive wounds, for example. He started his tarot deck and his business with the first Bazaar of the Occult market, and now he runs that as his main business. So to see other people like manifesting and doing their own magic in different ways has been really fulfilling. Not to say just in addition to like the monetary success and making sales and being a part of that like sort of like corporate aspect of it. I mean, the first two people that come to mind are Alexandra Winthrop. She's an illustrator, tattoo artist, and Winslow Domain, who I mentioned before, that illustrated his own tarot deck from scratch, which is an undertaking. They have been at pretty much every event that I've done. They do stunning work, each in their own way. Michelle Shea Walker, who does tarot and energy readers. I watched her kind of come through the markets and do Reiki and energy, and then watched her craft and create her own oracle deck based on 90s like goddess characters, so characters from Clueless and 90s pop movies and things like that. That's called the Total Betty goddess deck. So to see people kind of like do their own thing and to see them progress and year after year get better and better has been really awesome. Who else comes through there a lot? There's a lot of pin makers that come through there. Mochi Oni, who does a lot of anime, some shibari style pins and things like that. We've had metal workers and metalsmiths come through. Lynn Bader, Laverne Metals, that do handcrafted like hand metal work. That it's not magic specifically, but it's people that are doing the thing, and that's what I kind of look for when I'm searching for vendors to like fill in a market, is like, can I tell that you're passionate and you're doing your thing? It doesn't have to have ghosts or anything spooky on it, but if you are making gorgeous work and it fits, then I want to like give you that platform to continue. There's nothing compared to that, like that thing that the illustrator handmade, or supporting people's designs. I think the past couple of years, pandemic included, showed that a lot of people were hungry for really unique, bespoke items and things that aligned with their ideals, helped represent who they wanted to represent, that they couldn't find elsewhere. And I know there are a lot of great brick and mortar witchy shops around the city as well, but having them all together and making it a big event has a different energy and feel. I think that there's a place for commerce and shopping and using money as energy. And whether we like it or not, we're a part of this kind of like corporate Western world, and why should we not figure out our way to like work our magic and extract some of that energy to use within our own communities and lives, and to make everything better around us. So I think there is a place for it.
Well, I think this is an important topic, not only from the standpoint of buy local, support individual artists and stay away from big consumerism and commercialism. I think it's important because how we represent ourselves and our religious traditions is also a question that doesn't get asked as often as I think it should. And one of the beautiful things that I saw when I was out doing my interviews was that so much of it was everything was invested into these pieces of art. They were almost devotional works, not just something that was artistic, and it sort of went above and beyond somebody just creating something simply to create. It was somebody creating something to honor, somebody created something so that there would be a living legacy of some of these practices. It was almost in a lot of ways like a heritage event. When I was doing some of the research for this episode, I went back to, anybody who's in performance studies knows Barbara Gimlet, but I went back to some, yes, BKG, right? I did my grad work at NYU in cinema studies. And at that time, cinema studies was on one side of the hall and performance studies was on the other. So, and I did interview with her, even though she didn't accept me, sad tear. But her work is just so visionary in talking about commodifying things and talking about heritage and culture. And I think that that's an important way when we think of these things, because we're not just supporting an individual artist, which is great, rah, rah, but we're helping to sort of further the discipline, further education, further the spirituality in a lot of ways. And I think that that's something people don't necessarily consider.
Yeah, and there are definitely some artists like that here as well, people I've worked with who are using occult imagery as a way to not only, personal expression, but to sort of, create a spiritual practice that works for them, and to share with others. And some of these people will create tarot decks, or as part of their art as well, so it becomes part of the practice. So that's I think that's a pretty significant aspect of independent occult art is using that material for personal practice so that they can share with others to incorporate into their practice. So yeah, that's a great aspect of it.
Yeah, I think so much of what I saw when I was out in them streets, as we say, was people using things that became altar items or shrine items, or things that were sold in sassy noir that then gets put on somebody's altar or used in somebody's ritual or something. So it's like the piece has another life above and beyond just a simple representation, which I think is very powerful as well.
Right. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, catch us at our next episode. We are getting into a different kind of spooky season as Krampus starts to come out and torture the and our own consciences, and then ghost stories later on for winter solstice. So once again, thanks for following us and watching our videos, sharing them and subscribing them, and subscribing them. Oh my gosh, subscribing to them.
Subscribing to them.
Yes. And of course, as we say every week, make sure to check out our Patreon site, where there's plenty of extras and deleted scenes at patreon.com/popcultureshow.
And you might even get a sticker. Let's see if I can find a sticker. Wait a minute. Oh no.
Stickers.
Stuff is crashing. I'll send you a whole bunch of stickers. Where's the stickers? Oh, here we go. Yay, stickers.
Stickers.
So yeah, you subscribe to the Patreon, you'll get free stickers. And I'm excited about this Krampus episode. So I'm kind of related to Krampus. I will explain that in the episode. But
aren't we all deep down?
Some of us more than others. But yes.
Indeed.
Thank you,
well,
everybody.
see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.